I was going to ad lib, but having seen those first few speakers, I'm going to read off my notes so I don't leave anything out. The purpose of my trip was to examine how vineyards are being managed in regards to irrigation and extreme climates in California. I chose California because it shares a lot of similarities in climate, grape varieties, water resources and irrigation requirements with Australia. I started by attending the trade day at the Unified Wine Symposium in Sacramento. I'd arranged meetings with industry winemakers, viticulturalists and suppliers. I met with Nick Dzuklian, who is the head of wine growing with the largest wine company in the world, Gallo. We briefly discussed, unfortunately he was quite busy, there he is there, the importance of monitoring water use in vineyards. I recommended Australian technology to him, which I'm currently trialling in the Clare Valley as part of a ag-tech application with a grower there. And we discussed it briefly, and he just said that, well, we're actually making our own. So we're big enough, we just make our own, which is quite interesting. I visited the trade exhibition and I engaged with Centec Technologies, who are the Australian company, now owned by an Israeli company, who pioneered soil moisture technology. It was great to catch up with them, and they actually were distributing flyers with a case study that I did 20 years ago when I was at Wirra Wirra on RDI strategy to improve quality in Shiraz and save water. And I was able to actually talk to them about that case study and how it worked, and they were a lot clearer by the end of it, and they were able to share that with the customers on the day and carry that forward, that information. So it was a good exchange. Unfortunately, there were some appointments that didn't pay off. There were a few people that I was unable to catch up with on that day. But I then headed to Napa, and I was able to meet with viticulturalists and winemakers in the Napa Valley. One of the key ones was one of the Gallo viticulturalists, Patrick Tokar. We discussed the use of VPD, vapour pressure differential measurements to assess canopy health and fruit response to heat waves. It was really quite interesting. They're a fair way down the track with using that technology, and I was heartened by how they've been able to attach some metrics to that, and I brought that back, and now I'm really keen to try that in the trial in the Clare Valley. As a result of the visit, with Patrick, I was able to introduce him to people in Australia, George Dryden and Amanda Mader, who are using similar technology and are very early on in their use of it and development, and they are now sharing a really good exchange of information. I visited the largest vineyard in Napa Valley and discussed the challenges around irrigation of a very complex site with their vineyard manager, and I was interested to see some of the novel ways in which they deal with irrigation challenges, including having dual drip lines to help with quick turnaround with getting water down to depth. It's something which I think we'll probably need to adopt in Australia soon. I visited lots of lovely wineries and had some amazing tours through cellars and discussions with winemakers. I was able to meet with the first Afro-American female viticulturalist at the oldest vineyard in California, which was probably one of the highlights of the trip. They had the second oldest Semillon vines in the world at that vineyard, and my friends the Tyrrells and the Hunter had the oldest, so it was great. I grabbed a bottle of that Semillon to share with the Tyrrell family. Had a quick trip out to Lodi, spoke to Stephanie Bolton and addressed a group of growers there, and discussed the irrigation challenges that they have with technology, and they were open to suggestions to looking at the Australian technology that's being used now. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob.